Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And I know a lot of you out there really want to play Enhancement Shaman in WoW PvP and just smash some faces in with the dual-wield Wind Fury proccing action that the specialization has historically brought to the PvP scene. And I know at the moment that it's a pretty complicated spec with a huge amount of keybind. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you the quote-unquote one-button build, which is going to significantly reduce the number of keybinds required in order to really start smashing some skulls in. This is the build that I utilized to go from ground 0 rating all the way up to 2400 and still have fun along the way with it. So we're going to be covering stats, we're going to be covering talents, we're going to be covering rotation, basically everything that you need to know to get started. And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash the subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated on my long-term journey of getting to 100,000 subscribers. Now, with this build in particular, I was aiming to try and get around 20% haste. 20% haste is kind of just the feels good breakpoint for a lot of melee DPS as far as managing your global cooldowns. So it doesn't feel like you're just like sitting for an eternity between them. I got a little bit of mastery in between as well in order for the Storm Surge bonus, so we can get extra Storm Strike damage basically. And this is where all of our damage is coming from, is from Storm Strike. And then the rest is obviously filled in with versatility, and you likely want to be avoiding critical strike. Now, we do want our 4-set bonus. Our 4-set bonus is very important for proccing Doom Winds, giving us additional Crash Lightning damage, and just overall increasing our damage. There's really not too much to discuss there. We have the Haste Versatility Neck, 4-set bonus, everything except the pants. We got Verse Mastery Cloak. Again, I could maybe have swapped this for Haste Versatility to get my haste just a little bit higher. If I'd spent more time with this character, I probably likely would have just got some sockets, and that would have put my haste over the edge. But you're basically just aiming to try and get around 20% haste. 4-set bonus onto the chest with primary stat increase enchant. Movement speed enchant, really important on the bracers, otherwise you are going to be moving really slow. It's really important, especially on Enhancement Shaman. 4-set bonus gloves, haste versatility belt. I have the Verse Mastery pants. Again, I could have flipped some of these Verse Masteries around, got the haste a little bit higher. You can kind of tune your character the way that you want to in that regard. I was wearing mostly Resto Shaman gear for this as well, so you could likely tweak your character to be a lot more optimal. You can see that with the intellect enchant on my pants. You could probably tune your character to be a lot more optimal than mine by getting a little bit more haste and obviously flipping out the intellect for agility. Verse Mastery pants, Scout's March, again, really important for the movement speed. I got the gem that increases primary stat by 181, as well as 5% damage reduction when in crowd control, because you're going to get crowd controlled a lot. It's going to give you a little bit of extra durability, which is nice. I have seen some players run the precognition gem, which can be good, because Enhancement Shaman, the one strength that you do have is that you have a significant amount of self-healing. That is the thing that you definitely want to be abusing, and we'll cover that in the rotation. But just haste versatility crafted. We have the embellishment that gives us the kind of proc damage from our gems, and I just picked up the versatility mastery weapons from the vendor, basically with the haste proc enchant and the unused trinket, and that is pretty much it for the gear. When we look at the talents, we were playing Stormbringer. You probably likely recognize this build from season 1. This build is nerfed quite a lot since season 1, so I was trying to find ways to basically adapt it into season 2 and make it work, and I think that I've managed to do that. It runs all of the classic things that you're going to need. You're going to want to be getting Doom Winds, you're going to be needing Ascendance. This is really integral to the entire rotation, as well as Thorm's Invocation, because it's just going to be granting you a lot of damage on your Lightning Bolt, which is going to be your kind of main build up and spending kind of expenditure. One of the PvP talents that you're going to absolutely need to pick up now is Stormweaver. And this is one that basically is going to make your healing surge free every time you spend Maelstrom. And it's really powerful during Ascendance because you'll be auto-shooting lightning bolts. Every time you auto-shoot a lightning bolt, you'll also be able to use a free instant healing surge. And this is how you can make yourself basically invincible. And I think Enhancement Shaman is actually the best 1 versus 1 PvP spec in the game. And it's mostly because of this. I've been running Shamanism to get Bloodlust. It's just really nice. I feel like Enhancement Shaman doesn't feel like Enhancement Shaman without Bloodlust. So I like this talent. A little bit of extra haste, a little juice up, get more Storm Strikes out in order to get more procs, in order to feel more powerful. But you can flip this one around, and you can flip the Grounding Totem one around as well. If you feel like you really need more defense, you can flip Shamanism out for Burrow, and that's just going to give you another survivability cooldown. But I ran the entire time playing Shamanism and Stormweaver. So again, it's up to you. If you feel like you're dying a lot, you could swap this one out for Burrow. Oops, didn't mean to do that there. Grounding Totem, really good into spellcasters. I would recommend it. But if you're running into melee DPS, do not sleep on Counter-Strike Totem. If you're running, there's like a lot of players to see this at like the lower mid ratings. there's a lot of melee cleave lobbies. They don't pay attention to this thing. You put Counter Strike down, it might be your number one damage a lot of the time. I abused this to get out of elo hell, basically. Was just Counter Strike totem where people weren't aware that it was down, and it was zapping people and doing my top damage almost every time. So would highly recommend that, especially if you're lower rated. Maybe it might even be better than grounding into some casters as well at lower rating, just because of how much damage it actually does. Really good in 1v1s and really good in duels. So definitely do not sleep on the Counter Strike totem. It's a really good one to pick up. We have the Tremor Totem for fears, Decurse for hexes, which is really important. You want to make sure you're getting the refreshing waters for healing surge. This is just integral as far as your overall throughput. Now you can flip some talents around here. If you know the enemy team doesn't have a Decurse and they have no spellcaster, you can drop Seasoned Winds because you don't care about reducing damage. If there's nothing to Windshare that's going to reduce damage, you can pick up the shorter cooldown Hex to abuse that, or you can pick up the Earth Elemental, which is going to give you more stamina. So if you want more survivability, this is kind of a flex talent to get more survivability, to get a shorter cooldown Hex, and those can all be really great options to just basically flip between these two or these three, depending on if you're fighting a caster or not, to try and min-max your stats. Now, again, Earth Elemental is an extra keybind, so if you don't really want keybinds, you could try to avoid that one. Again, for the most part, I think I did, but if there was like a rogue team, I would probably want this, or maybe like a really high burst cheese spec, like an augmentation evoker. That's going to try and one-shot me in the opener. I want 15% extra stamina. I think those are going to be a good idea. I was running Gust of Wind, which is a 20-second cooldown mobility over the Spirit Walk because it's a 1-minute cooldown. And a lot of classes that have roots just instantly root you again, even if you use this. So I found Gust of Wind to actually be pretty nice for just kind of bouncing around into the fight. But let's take a look at the rotation and what you're really trying to do here with the Enhanced Shaman. So the first goal is to try and get Flame Shock on the target. We're going to get Spirit Wolves out. We're going to pop Bloodlust. We're going to pop Bloodlust, Doom Winds, and we're going to pop Ascendance after we've used a Lightning Bolt. So we pop a Lightning Bolt, then we pop Ascendance. We just spam Storm Strike, and you'll notice that it's auto-shooting Lightning Bolts and giving me free healing surges. So we can, whenever a healing surge lights up as you're spamming Wind Strike here, we want to be using those healing surges, but you're basically just spamming one button. You're just spamming the crap out of it. When it's over, you're still just kind of spamming Storm Strikes. Tempest procs are really going to be where you're getting your beefed up damage. You get the stacks from your 4-set bonus for your Crash Lightning. You can fit in Frost Shocks in between if you need to because you're taking damage. Just whenever your Healing Surge lights up, you're going to be able to get a free one, and it's whenever you shoot this Maelstrom out like this. I don't really prioritize Flame Shock a huge amount. It's like something I'll press if I'm out of range, kind of just like running at the target. Generally speaking, I think the Lightning Bolts and spending Maelstrom is more important in order to get as many healing surges as you can for free, which you can be using onto allies. But generally, that's just your rotation. You're just smashing the crap out of Storm Strike and pressing Lightning Bolt when these lightning icons appear on the center of your screen, and then healing surging when you need to, sending your Spirit Wolves and your Doom Winds on cooldown and your Bloodlust on cooldown, filling in with any Ice Strikes or Frost Shocks as you don't have Storm Strikes, and trying to use Crash Lightning when the stacks start getting high in order to benefit from your set bonus most effectively. And this is just going to be it. And you don't have to be like super on the money with this. You can kind of just like float around and press what you want. Sometimes your damage is still going to come out pretty optimally if you're thinking about this from a newcomer perspective, which is why I really like this build. I think this build is a lot more friendly than Totemic. Totemic just has way too many keybinds. I even got overwhelmed by it. I feel like it's a spec that needs to be brought down quite a bit as far as keybind bloat. But then in the in-between, obviously, we've got Wind Shear. I've got Arena 1, 2, 3 Wind Shears. I think this is really important for classes that have low cooldown ranged interrupts because you're going to want to use that on almost any enemy target in the arena. I do have an emergency Wind Shear on keybind 7 here that isn't bound to an arena target. And this is for pets. So you might fight a succubus and you have to Wind Shear the succubus. Or there's a demonic tyrant, maybe you want to Wind Shear the tyrant. Pets can be kind of dangerous here, so I do have it like an emergency bind here that's separate from it. But outside of rotation, you'd be like dropping Counter Strike totems, using Thunderstorm to knock enemies away. Thunderstorm is really effective when you get stunned, though, especially if you're getting attacked. I would generally save it for that. You have Sunder, which disrupts targets. So Sundering, I don't really use that for damage. I use it kind of as like a pseudo interrupt, a pseudo kick, in order to stop enemies from casting. If you're getting kited a lot, your globals should be Greater Purge as a priority, keeping Flame Shock up, and then using roots with Earth Grab Totem or Frost Shock to try and prevent the target from getting away. And then obviously Feral Lunge can help you get to the target. And then we're also running the Gust of Wind in order to jump and try and get to the target and try to get as much mobility as we really can out of the class. All the globals you can use if you don't need to snare the target or root while you're getting kited is Healing Stream. And I kind of just use Healing Stream as a filler global. I don't like prioritize keeping it down. It's just like I can't hit anything. I'll press Healing Stream because there's nothing else to press basically to fill that time in between. And you obviously want to maintain your buff throughout the game, which is Sky Fury. This is giving you 2% mastery, a little bit of extra auto attack. Wind Fury procs, maintain that buff whenever you're getting kited is also a really good idea. And then obviously you have cooldowns to rotate through. Astral Shift is a really good one to use just at the beginning stage of a game when you're getting just destroyed by all their cooldowns. And then you'll rotate Stone Bulwark separately. The reason I use Stone Bulwark second is because it's really unlikely that a shuffle round goes longer than 3 minutes. You probably won't see 2 of it in a game, whereas Astral Shift is 1.5 minutes, so you'll likely see 2 of this in a game. So use Astral Shift first, and then we can use Stone Bulwark the next time we're in trouble, and then by the time we're in trouble again, we'll likely have Astral Shift. And if you have Burrow, then you'll have 3 cooldowns basically to rotate through. But generally, your survivability is really good right now with the Healing Surge. That's the thing you do want to abuse, is pay attention to when Healing Surge is lit up in order to get the healing. And obviously, we have stuns as well. So we have Cap Totem, which I am using projection, so I can move it around before it explodes as well. Using Earth Grab in tandem with Cap Totem is really good because it's just going to root the target next to it, can make it really difficult to get away from it, make sure that you can secure the stun. I also like Lightning Lasso, even though it does less damage technically than just doing a rotation. I think as an emergency measure, when melee are running at you and you're on the pillar and you're trying to kite them, you can stun them and run around the corner, run around the circle. I think that extra utility outweighs the loss of damage that you would get, generally speaking, for using it. And it helps you peel allies as well. And it's really good if you're playing with classes that don't have stuns. Enhancement still suffers from the fact that it doesn't have a mortal wounds effect. So you're, again, pretty spec dependent on what your teammates are. So it can be really difficult in those lobbies. Really keybind dense. It's really tough to get kited. That's why I've built this, this build to try and get some extra uptime, be a little bit of range DPS as well throughout Ascendance, as well as reduce the keybinds. And obviously it works because I was able to get to 2400 here in less than 150 rounds, which I think on my Death Knight, I'm almost at 150 rounds and I'm hard stuck at 2K. So, and it's actually was a little bit of a lighter journey so far than Death Knights as far as shuffle is concerned. But I like this build. It's very simple. It's very effective. It gets the job done. And it's not as overwhelming as some of the other options. So I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. I hope this build helps you out on your PvP journeys with Enhancement Shaman, because it's definitely a struggle at the moment. Maybe we'll see some buffs. Who knows? I'm really hoping that last wave of buffs wasn't the end. I'm going to be updating my tier list and relaying my thoughts on the classes from my prediction to now, a week later, basically, and going over where I think things should go from this point. So if you want to make sure you're seeing that content, make sure once again to smash the subscribe button. Other than that, thank you guys very much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this helps you out and you're able to start smashing it up in PvP. Peace out.